Hi, everybody. This is Rebecca Weintraub with Transforming Today Show. And today my guest is John Neral. He's here with us and he's going to share his transformation that happened over the last 7 or 8 years. And we're so excited to have him. John, how are you?
I'm great, Rebecca. How are you? Thanks for letting me come on tonight. I appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome. We have a lot to dig into. So just briefly at first, we're going to dig into this a lot, but just tell everybody, what you do, what your coaching business is about.
Sure. So I'm a leadership and career coach, and I help professionals who are ambitious about their careers create that next advancement opportunity. So for some, it's about leveraging their expertise and moving internally within the organization. And for others, it's about them actually stepping out and going to a completely different organization. And also there are some clients I work with where they're just entering a leadership role for the very first time. And so they're really trying to figure out how they show up and lead and get to know what their leadership voice sounds like. And so that along with the career work and everything is really exciting to me. And I'm so blessed to have the opportunity.
That's so great. And I know that you've touched upon this like for many years in your life, but it seems like it all kind of came together in this most prominent way recently. Is that true?
Very true. Yeah, absolutely. To say it was a major transformation in my life would be an understatement.
All right. So tell us all about it. We're eager to hear.
Sure, absolutely. So do you like the Golden Girls?
Oh my God, I love the Golden Girls. In fact, someone told me, one time someone said, Rebecca, I'm going to tell you what celebrity you remind me of. And I was thinking, oh, this is going to be great. And they said, B. Arthur. I remind you of B. Arthur? Enough about me. Go ahead.
All right. So picture it, Oakland, New Jersey, 2009. I was working as a middle school mathematics teacher and a district mathematics coordinator in a small suburb of New York City. And I had been there for 13 years. And I was looking to get out. I was looking to figure out what my next career step was going to be. And I wasn't really sure what exactly that looked like. The interesting thing in the whole mix, and this is part of the whole big transformation, is that the year prior, I met a wonderful man on vacation in Provincetown, Massachusetts, who I started dating, and we were dating long distance. So every weekend, Richard or I would be traveling up and down 95, 250 miles to spend the weekend with each other. And we would block out these chunks like every 3 months, okay? And we'd get done with 3 months and go, okay, let's plan out the next 3 months. So his job, he is a third generation librarian, and he works in the federal government. And so there weren't really job opportunities for him to come to New Jersey. And so I started aggressively looking at what job opportunities within the education arena looked like for me in Washington, D.C. And I get a call from the deputy chief, and she says to me, I really want to bring you down, but I can't. And she goes, we lost our funding. And so all I can tell you is try again next year. I'm really sorry. I knew there were some personal things that wanted you to come down here as well as professional reasons, but I don't have a job for you. And so in the midst of being naturally disappointed, what happened out of that whole event were a couple of things. So one, on a personal level, it was an opportunity for us to see how really invested we were in the relationship. If we were going to just go and continue to date long distance for another year and see what would happen. And secondly, I took it as an opportunity to see what else can I learn. So in other words, if I'm going to go back into this school system where I liked being, I was just being pulled, what do I get to learn? And so those two things were such a big part of the transformation, because in that year, we grew stronger as a couple. In that year, I learned more about leadership. I learned more about honing and finding my own leadership voice and how I was showing up to my team, my local union, the people I was working with day in and day out. And so every day I woke up, it was like, okay, what do I get to learn today? How is this going to help me get to that next step? Job got posted. I went back and interviewed. They got the funding, and I left. With a lot of gratitude, I left a 14-year career in a wonderful district where I had tenure, where I could have stayed and been very comfortable. But for me, in how I wanted to show up, that wasn't it. I was ready to do something more, and professionally to work with adult learners, to work with teachers and helping them be better at their craft and how they were serving and teaching their students in their school district, and to go work for DC Public Schools, which, if you read the news, there's a lot of stuff going on about DCPS. And when I went there, it was just at the tail end of the Michelle Rhee era. So while I didn't work directly with her, just being there was a lot of energy. And so there was this, personal and professional transformation where I leave a stable job, I sell my house at a loss, I move away from a lot of my friends, and I come down here for a relationship that I believe in and a job I'm going to see that's going to work or not, right? And here I was, and I was 39, 40. I was 39, 40 at the time, or 41. So it was a big move. And I will tell you, I have only looked back to be grateful for all the experiences that were there. So professionally, I have seen my career advance exponentially to where I am today. And there were 2 other jobs right after DC Public Schools that I went to work at. My relationship has continued to grow. We got married in the fall of 2016. So things continue to work and grow in that area. And I just feel amazingly blessed in all areas of my life at this point. And that's a big part of how I show up.
That is absolutely incredible. Like, the first word that pops into my mind is risk, because it's like, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are like, how did he, like, you use the word loss. Like, it's like you had to take a loss on your house. You had to leave friends, which is a loss. Like, it was like, you could see that as loss after loss after loss, but you didn't. You saw it like
No.
you walking or even running towards something that was probably like in lights that you were drawn to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I wonder if it felt like a flow where you just couldn't stop, and your eyes were focused on exactly what you wanted going forward.
That's a good analogy to it, because I think a big part of it was that it was also about being very intentional, right? It was about being intentional in my career and the direction I wanted to take it. It was also about us being very intentional in our relationship and where we wanted to go. This wasn't a move that either one of us took very lightly. And we felt that after 2 years, we had enough data to go on the simple fact that it was worth not necessarily taking the risk, but really investing in what could be. The one thing I didn't mention, and I think it's important as we think about these transformations and we weigh all these options, my teaching contract had a clause in it that I could take a year's leave of absence from my job and return at the end of that year. So even though there was this risk, I had enough time and tenure in the district that I could take the year off. And if things didn't work out for whatever reason, I could go back to the job. I wasn't going to go back to the house because I sold the house, and obviously the friendswood and stuff still be there. But while that was a safety net, so to speak, quote unquote, it really wasn't an option, because you said, like, in running toward it, it was about so much about being intentional with the steps that I was choosing to take in my life to move it forward in the way that I wanted.
Yeah, yeah. So teach us how to do this, right? Like if someone's in your shoes right now where they're considering like taking a big leap like that, they have a little bit of assurance, but it's mostly like maybe they're just, relying on faith and some data, to kind of make this decision. Like walk us through how you were able to go through this transition, like tactfully.
Yeah. So I am concrete sequential and very analytical. So for me, it was about putting everything down into an Excel spreadsheet and doing a pro and con list, but not just doing a pro and con list, but giving a weight to it. So when I looked at the pros, right? So there was a chance to continue to foster a loving relationship, take a step professionally for growth and move my career in a direction I wanted to take it, getting a chance to live in our nation's capital. We actually lived 3 blocks north of the White House at the time, so that was kind of a neat place to be. A chance to experience a different community because I had always lived in a suburb. And I put all of those things down. And then on a scale of 1 to 5, I tacked a weight to it. How important was it to me to go ahead and do that? And the same thing with in the con column, leaving a job of 14 years, selling a house at a loss because I sold my house at the bottom of the housing crisis, moving away from all of my friends and my support network and those kind of things. And I associated a weight to all of those. And so in the end, when I calculated everything out, the data it gave me was there were a number of things in each column, but there was also a point value associated to it. And so that allowed me to look very concretely at all of those things, but then also to have conversations with my now husband and my best friends and all of those people who were close to me that were going, are you really going to do this? And go, yeah, I think I am going to do it. And just to kind of look at all of that and be very open to the thoughts and the feedback and things that were coming from people, because ultimately the decision was mine and it was ours. And so when push came to shove and it was like, are we going to do this? Let's do it. Because it was really important for me to not come down here without a job. That was something important for me, that I really wanted to have an intentional purpose in where my career was going to go by coming down here. So I wasn't, I had some direction when I came down here as far as work goes.
Okay. So I love how you did the Excel spreadsheet because I'm like an Excel girl too. And now I'm like migrating over to like learning Google. But yeah, the concept of like numbers, math, crunching data analytics, like that's how my brain works as well. But I would be remiss to say that part of a large part of how I make decisions too is also tapping into that flow, like having a balance of that cerebral space, but also the emotional, sort of that gut feeling and physical, and then matching that up with sort of a spiritual realm, and having all 4 of those components sort of dancing with each other and coming up with, I guess in this case, the confidence, or just the feeling that you knew it was right. So can you talk a little bit about maybe how those elements, if they were relevant, how that influenced your decision?
So you've done Myers-Briggs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm an ENFJ. I mean, that F for feeling is really, really big in who I am. And as many times as I've taken that profile, the F is always there. So even though I am kind of concrete sequential, how I kind of move with my heart is really important. So when you talk about flow, and so there's that moment about, for me, it was about what did I want in my life? And so when I started feeling like I was looking for a career change, part of that was predicated on the fact that I felt like I was getting professionally stale. I was doing the job. I was doing the job well, but you get to a point after 14 years for me where I just felt like it wasn't fair to the kids if I wasn't fully into it. I knew I wanted to stay in education. It was just a matter as to where. Um, but when it came to a relationship, um, when you get really, really quiet, when you're really thinking about what the relationship means, what the life decision potentially means, and to think about it and say, I'm not going to go into this halfway. I'm not going to play this half-ass, right? I'm going to go all in or nothing. Um, that's a big part about, for me, how I show up energetically. And that's where any spreadsheet, a number attached to any cell, um, doesn't matter. All right. It's there for a data point, but in the end, it's that flow, like you talked about. It's the heart. It's about really honoring what my purpose and intention was and is and continues to be. And so that's I think where the power in that lies, because I can analyze things as much as I want, but if it doesn't resonate in my gut and in my heart, if that's not in line with everything that's going on upstairs in the noggin, then no, it's not in alignment.
Hmm. So so you go with that. You go with your gut, you go with the universe, spiritually, like this flow telling you to do it. You've got that little bit of assurance that you need from the numbers, and you're on your way and you arrive. And what happens when you arrive?
The guy who played it by the book, who played it very cautiously, all of a sudden took a really big risk, chance, investment on himself to take his life in a different direction than he ever thought was going to happen. And so that excitement was simply unparalleled to anything that I had ever experienced before in my life.
So we were talking earlier about like perspective, right? How you could like see everything that you're leaving as in sort of like a negative light, or you can see everything you're running to in this positive light.
Yeah.
How much did that outlook of that positivity help you adjust once you made this huge transition?
So a big part of it, because I believe that what we focus on, we manifest. So if I'm filling my brain with a lot of negative thoughts and I'm reinforcing them and I'm imprinting them, then that's what's going to come to fruition. So when it came for this big life change in 2010, I I intentionally chose to look at it in the only way that I saw it possible, and that was an opportunity. Right? There's no guarantees. There's no assurances in anything. I mean, life happens and it comes, and we as participants and observers get to experience those all in the same breath. But to know that there was this opportunity and an excitement around it, and to give myself permission to go ahead and do it, that I think was the big part. Like that was the blessing, or that was the miracle in all of it, to just have all that kind of manifest, but to do it in a way that was very intentional and loving and supportive and directional, because there were people with whom were in my purview who I won't say were negative, but were very reserved or cautious. And I don't fault them for that in any way, because that was who they are. That was what they were feeling. And it was good for me to kind of have that as a sounding board. Um, but understanding that it was my decision.
Mm.
And so I had to make a choice, right? I could either buy into that and go, I could be like Eeyore, right? Oh, it's a sad day for donkeys, and we're gonna just kind of like go and see what happens, and this is never gonna work out. And then but that's not me, right? That's not how I decided to live my life. And so I couldn't think of it any other way, Rebecca. I couldn't think of it in any other way than to simply say, this is going to work. And work is just that, right? Jobs come and go, relationships evolve, life happens. In the midst of it all, in 2011, my mom died. And to have my husband there as a huge support in going through the loss of my mom. My dad predeceased her by about 7 or 8 years. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but it did. And life happens, and you move through them, and you move through them in a way that I think really just in alignment with who we are as people and who we are as energy and core values. And if you have a faith and you are a person of faith, then how that shows up for you. But I just couldn't see it in any other way than this being the opportunity to move in.
How long do you think you were wired for this kind of outlook on life?
Oh, that is a great question. Wow. Because the blanket answer I want to give you is that I was just, at birth. But I don't know if that's the right answer or not. And so let me just think about that for a minute. In the upbringing I had, there was that cautious, optimistic kind of side that I was raised in. A lot of structure, but when I got out on my own, when I, and even before that though, I mean, I would say like college was a big eye opener for me in terms of potential and possibilities and opportunities, and to see a much broader world than what I had been exposed to. That I would say probably was a really good start for it. And then graduating and starting work and having life experiences and everything, to me it was about, you choose how you want to show up. And so for me, it was a lot less energy and a lot better use of my energy to show up in a more optimistic or opportunistic or positive way than to sit there and be regretful or remorseful, or to kind of wallow. I mean, look, at the end of the day, my shoes are no different than anybody else's. They're just more comfortable. And I say that because I had a neighbor when I was a child, and family go through drama and stuff like that, right? And she had said, everybody's problems are like a pair of shoes. And everybody could take their shoes off and throw them in the corner, and you could go pick any pair of shoes you wanted. But people will always go pick their own because they're the most comfortable. And so I say that because it's like, I have my shoes, and I like my shoes because after 49 years, they're really comfortable. But they're comfortable because I've done the work, and I continue to do the work. And in doing the work, it is for me about really looking for the light or the good or the positive in in people, places, and things than not. And not that I don't have my moments, because I'm human, just like everybody. I have my own moments and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's how I choose to show up.
I absolutely love that analogy. I've never heard that before. And it took me a long time to learn about choice. And I think like that's kind of the word that was ringing in my head when you were just talking, because not until I met someone in my, mid 20s did I really understand what choice meant.
Mm-hmm.
It took me years after that to like really get it. And I know that that is an element that you use with your clients. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about how that concept kind of fits into the work that you do and how you help move people forward.
Sure. So there's a book that I read years ago. It's called How to Say Anything to Anyone by Sherry Harley. And I love that book so much. And there's a line in the book, and I say that only because I have to give credit where credit is due, because it's not my line. And I just want to give her credit. And she says, we are 100% responsible for our careers. And so when you talk about choice, when I talk about choice with my clients and in my practice, we are 100% responsible for our careers. That means that we are responsible for the choices we make with the collegial relationships we have, the professional interactions, how we choose to manage our professional reputation, how we choose to advocate for ourselves in the workplace when it comes to recognition or advancement. And we also choose how and when and how long we stay. How we stay in whatever job it is and what it is that we do and how we serve. And so for me, choice is very empowering, because when I have choice, when I was in Oakland, New Jersey, trying to figure out what choice I was going to make for me personally and professionally, that was very empowering, because nobody gets to make that choice but me. I took complete and total responsibility for my career and my life, whatever decided to happen at that moment. And so I think choice is very liberating. It can be very freeing. For some people, it freaks them out. For some people, it can be a little terrifying to say, hey, you have all these choices. What do you want to do with it? And they get like locked up, and they're like, I don't know. I'm in this job for so long, and I'm okay with that. And that's a choice. And there's no judgment in the choice, because the choice is what it is. And it is, if we believe people make the choices that are best for them at the moment they make them, then that's how they show up. That's what it is that they do. But I think choice is a gift, and it is freeing, and it allows us in the most powerful way to play fearlessly and to go after what it is that we want and why it's important for us, and to do it. And I think we're able to make those choices with a lot of support.
If someone comes to you, your client comes to you, and they say, I've been in this job for a really long time. I really like it. I like my coworkers, but there's something inside of me that just feels like I need to do more, or I need to explore something different, or I have this creativity inside and I don't know how to express it. Like, how would you help that person live fearlessly?
Yeah. So I believe to be able to play fearlessly is about honoring why it is you do what you do. Right? So to dig really, really deep with them and getting very curious around, why is the work important to you? What's your purpose? What's your mission? What's your vision? Whatever that is, and digging really deeply, and then going deeper. Because I think that we know that happens when our clients trust us, and we can ask with permission to kind of press forward and push and dig really deeply in that moment. But that's about meeting them where they're at and pushing them further to really explore what that meaning is. We're experiencing something really interesting when it comes to our younger professionals. Whether you call them millennials, Gen Ys, Gen Zs, whatever it is, I want you to think about that person who is in that like 23 to 31 year age range in that kind of moment. And I think they play fearlessly, because what I have seen is they value a connection. And that connection is stronger and deeper than we've ever seen before. It is a connection to their organization, the people they work with, the work that they're doing, the connection to why they're doing what they're doing. And there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance between what they do in their professional life and what they do in their personal life. And when that is out of sync or it is out of balance, they jump. And they jump with a fearlessness and a tenacity we've not really seen before. I know one person in particular who was like, I'm out, I'll find another job. And to me, right, and not even a client, but and to sit there and go, that would scare the heck out of me. Like, how do you do that on a whim without fully understanding all the calculated risks and, how Susie Orman and her 8-month, emergency fund and all that kind of stuff. But they jump, and they jump with a resolve knowing they're going to find another job, and they do. And that speaks, I think, to what they bring to the table and how they're willing to leverage it. And I think for companies in particular, if we are not harnessing that energy to leverage that connection in a way that is mutually beneficial to both employee and organization, we are missing out on something really big. And we are letting really, really good talent walk out the door. And when they walk out the door, we're letting that investment go that we've taken to train them. So in that, like, back to the whole thing about being fearless, it's about being really, really sure with competence and confidence. I'm not talking cockiness, but there's a confidence in what you're able to do and a confidence you can make it happen that allows people to play fearlessly and to make those kind of big, bold, empowering decisions, because ultimately they are 100% responsible for their career and they're going to take it.
I absolutely love how you described that. And I love the analogy that you gave, or the story that you shared, because the one word I was thinking about was value. Mm-hmm. Specifically, it sounded like those types of people that you were describing really value who they are, the work that they do, what they bring to the organization, etc. And so if you are working with people outside of that sort of age range, or that don't necessarily have that mentality, how are you helping people instill value into themselves and the work that they do, what they can provide to others?
Yeah, so for me, it stems around a question about what's next, right? So if we believe that we're lifelong learners, we're continually growing, there's always a next. There's always something else to do. And people who work with me, or I think in general, anybody who seeks out hiring a professional coach, they're looking for that help with what comes next. They're looking for someone to help them unlock what's going on inside of them to figure that out. Like, I always talk about what that next advancement opportunity is. That isn't necessarily a promotion, right? That next advancement opportunity could be, to work in a different area of an organization, or to go lead a team that you've never had an opportunity to do so. There's a lot of things that we can package under an opportunity, but it is about what's next. Because if someone's looking for leadership or career coaching, they're looking to really identify what's next, or they have an idea about what's next, where they might say, I want to leave the company and find another job, or I really want senior leadership to notice me, or I really want to manage staff and I've never been able to do that before. They know what's next. They're just looking for a little help in unlocking all of that. Service can take on a lot of different definitions, but like in one example, when people say, I want to be able to serve a team and be able to move them as a group to do great things, and go, okay, well, define it. What does that actually look like? It might be getting them under budget, getting them to deliver on time, getting them to be more cohesive, whatever that might be. But it's really tapping into that why, that value, that importance that resonates with them. One of my coaches has said this to me, like, it would be great to be able to wake up in the morning and say, I get to go to work. I get to go do amazing things at work. I get to work with amazing people or have amazing customer relationships. And I get to do that because I'm so excited about what the day's ahead, as opposed to people that go, oh, I have to go to work. Because have to sucks. We have responsibilities, we have obligations, and we absolutely have to meet them. But there is a pivotal difference between saying, I have to, and I get to. Because when we say, I get to go do something, there's an excitement and an enthusiasm and a passion and a drive that you get to see and experience in people. So helping them create what that next advancement opportunity looks like is really about them understanding what they get to go do because they get to create it.
I love that you said that, because I usually think of things in terms of like have to and want to, but like get to is like the 11 on the scale.
Yeah.
You could be like the 20 on the scale,
Yes.
you know? And I never really thought of it in terms of that. I love that you shared that. Thank you. I'm going to really take that away today.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about you again. When you, now that you have this thriving coaching business, I'm assuming it's a get to every single day with all
of gosh,
just talk a little bit about what it's like to kind of live there in that get to space.
So I had an opportunity last month to train 50 people at an orientation meeting. And we did this whole exercise around core values. And when we were kind of wrapping up, one of the participants said to me, so what are the core values for your business? And I thought, what a great question. And very quickly I went service, support, and trust. And I explained what they meant, right? Because I left my last position because starting my own coaching practice was an opportunity for me to serve a whole lot more people than I could ever do internally. And it was with a lot of gratitude that I spent 5 years at my last organization, but it was also with a lot of excitement to know that I could serve a whole lot more people owning my own practice. It is about support in helping people really figure out what those next steps look like for them professionally, to help them figure out how they want to show up and lead, how they want to better themselves, the people they work with, their organizations. And ultimately, none of that happens without trust. So to really build a very trusting professional relationship with my clients, the people who follow me, it is about being able to really earn their trust. And I believe that trust is repeated behavior over time. So you build that trusted relationship, and then that allows you to serve and support. And the participant just kind of like chuckled a little bit, and he goes, wow, you really rattled them off quickly. And I was like, well, because that's my life. That's what I do every single day. And I do get to go to work. And I know that the things that I fill my day with, that I put on my calendar, are things that I get to do and I want to do because it is around service and support and building trusting relationships with clients or potential clients and building and growing that.
You live this. Like, you're not just saying this. It's not like the camera's going to shut off and you're going to be like, oh, I have to work tomorrow, right? Like, you believe what you are saying. And I think it's so inspiring to people who are out there that are kind of not in that position yet. They're not in the get to yet. They're kind of like in that, I don't know if I should make a move, or I've been thinking about making a move for a long time, or maybe they're resentful at their job or something. And they're like, God, I desperately need a change, but I got to pay the bills. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the leap of faith that you took when you went through your whole entire transition and you transformed your life to this get to place. I mean, how, like, if people out there want what you have and want to learn from you and what you've done, how do they contact you? How do they work with you?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, which is johnneral.com. They can also connect with me on LinkedIn. And I have a Facebook page where I do a Facebook Live every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Just an opportunity to share some information and things. So be it either Facebook, LinkedIn, or my website, they can go to that and they can connect with me through there. And if they just prefer good old-fashioned email, it's john@johnneral.com. I love having just an initial conversation with anybody who is interested in working with me as an opportunity just for me to get really curious and learn a little bit more about what they're inquiring about, and to really see if how I can help them in a coaching relationship. And if I feel like I can serve them to the best of my ability and feel as if we'd be a good fit for coaching, then I'd be happy to extend a complimentary session with them to just see how well we can both work together and potentially help them step toward the goals they're looking to achieve.
Okay, awesome. If you're out there and you're not already considering working with John, maybe you're not ready, but if you're ready, or you think you're ready, or you think you might be ready, like, just contact John. I mean, clearly he is so competent. He has this experience that he's gone through himself. You can clearly see that he's in this place of just total joy. And if you want that place of total joy and you're not totally there with your job and your life in general, totally hit up John. All right, everybody, we've come to the end of our segment here with John Neral, and it has been fantastic. I've totally enjoyed it. I definitely took some takeaways for me today, especially that, I get to do something. It's not just I want to do it, but I get to do it. So thank you so much for offering that. That changed my life today. And, to our viewers, I hope you got a lot out of this. Please contact John, and we will see you the next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
So I was poking around on your website, and I saw that you were on Chain Reaction.
Yes.
I feel like I saw you on that episode that you were on, but because I used to watch it regularly. Like, I used to love Game Show Network. Like, watch it all the time.
So
then, how would I know if I saw you?
So if you saw the episode, all right, so it was 3 professional bowlers. And every time we got a question right, I ducked down and Kenny and Bobby high-fived over my head. And then I turned and high-fived Kenny and I high-fived Bobby.
All right. Are we going to high-five each other?
Yes.
All right, ready? Here we go.